If you ache for truth, goodness, and beauty, if you're hungry for a Christianity with substance and strength, if you long for a faith that's big and bold and biblical and all about Jesus Christ, if you're inspired by the idea of one church that has spanned 20 centuries, 24 time zones, and 2 hemispheres, enfolding every race, nation, and language, then you're considering Catholicism.
So, Ed, this is the second part of a conversation that we started. And in the first part, we did this epic rant about how people get burnt out on church.
Yep.
And then we stopped the recorder. And then we had a second conversation where we were going to kind of follow up on that and talk about the journey of Ed the Protestant.
Right.
Because we teased that in that episode, that it went from, you being burned out and yada, yada, yada. And then how that has set you up for us to share with everybody this update about Ed the Protestant. However, due to technical issues,
right,
I was noticing in the first episode that came out the other day that you had a little bit of like echo in your mic.
Right.
And it surprises me because with your lifetime as a musician, handling like patch cords and recording equipment, somehow there was something goofed up in the system, but that the echo wasn't so bad that you couldn't listen to it. So release that episode. But then the next conversation where you updated the audience about things and the demise of Ed the Protestant, that's a tease, then it was like the echo was so bad it wasn't usable. So we had to like just toss that away. And I think that, I don't want to get overly spiritual about that, but maybe the Lord was just saying, you guys could have done that conversation better.
That occurred to me. That thought occurred to me.
And so now it is like a week later, and we have reconstituted this. We have regathered, and we're using a little mobile rig, and which should be more problem free. And we are picking up this. So we talked about being burnt out about church and how Ed got super burnt out about church. And then 4 years ago in episode number 8, you ranted in your first appearance on the show about how burnt out you are about church. And then for the last 4 years, we've been sitting here, which brings us to this moment. And I give the floor to you.
All right. I won't tease it any longer. We're going to have to think of a new name for me because I'm going to be joining the Catholic Church. Finally. Maybe you could edit in some big music or something.
Yeah.
Music.
I was just thinking like angelic choir or the Mexican hat dance or something.
Yeah, you could edit. You could put a big reverb on my voice.
That's right.
Yeah. I finally had I've been praying about this, of course, for 3 years, that my significant other, Mrs. Ed the Protestant, would soften a little bit, and she did. And I actually said out loud as we were preparing it, we were just going to take a long ride on a Sunday and go check on our vacation place and, whatever. And I had a little, I just said out loud, guardian angel, if you're listening, prompt me. I know you're going to be in the car. If the thing comes up, nudge me hard. And the situation did. And so we talked about it. And she said, yeah, if you want to, go ahead. And then I thought, well, okay, but that'll be next Easter. It'll be a year. Because every year I would think, hey, maybe this Easter. And then no. And then, okay, well, I got another year to go. And then you told me that the bishop in the local diocese had asked the parishes to start a mid-year OCIA class for people who had already been baptized and were already validly baptized and were Christians. And those people were candidates, right? Okay. Mm-hmm. So it would be the catechumens who would come in at Easter because they were actually converting to Christianity, basically. apparently that's going to start here, I don't know, in a couple months, whenever you guys get it up and running. And by next fall, I'll be in. And I'm, I find it to be a little heavier than I was anticipating. I thought, well, when I finally get to this point, it'll be hooray, you know. But now it's not way off. And now it's not, you know, now instead of just planning the vacation, I'm getting on the airplane, and now it's different. It's not bad, but I find it a little heavier.
How so? Unpack that a little bit.
You know, I'll be doing something I can't undo, or I shouldn't undo. This is not like walking into the local big evangelical church where the new member class is meet for three times for an hour or twice for an hour, and there's donuts and coffee. This is different. This is 6 months of setting you up to succeed and explaining to you all the things you need to know. And then I'll be standing up in front and saying yes in front of everybody. It's a big deal, and it will change. And that's all good, but it will change. I will now be, how do I put this? It's not a bad thing, but I'll be under the auspices of the authority of the church, right? And then there are things that the church and God will expect of me that are not being expected of me now, and not in that way. And so, you know, I'll need to be going to Mass on the weekends, every weekend, which will change how I spend my weekends. We have a little vacation place, about an hour and a half north, and Sunday mornings have always been lay around and then go to breakfast. And now I'm going to be up probably early, finding an early Mass someplace, or going on Saturday. It's going to change things. It's not, and I'm such a free spirit that this is a little bit like joining the military. You know, I'm going to join. I'm joining, and I'm not going to unjoin. And they're going to have, the church is going to have things to say about my life, and I'm ready for it, and I want it, and let's go. But it's heavy, but not in a. It's like when I got married, right? Ooh, I'm really doing this. You know, I mean, I'm really doing this. This is not going to be easily undone. So That's what I mean by heavy. It's a little heavier.
Yeah, I think that's well said, and I think there's actually a couple of things in there that are worth, I think, exploring. Well, the name of this show is Considering Catholicism, and you know, it was real deliberate when I was trying to think of the name of the show. We talk about Catholicism on this show, and by Catholicism, I always mean the totality of it, which is the theology and the culture and the art and the history and the practice and the church and the whole combination plate.
Right.
And in one sense, Catholicism, I've had a lot of conversations with people about this over the last 4 years about the show, not always on the show, but about the show offline, is that in some ways Catholicism is a bigger thing than just the Catholic Church. And I have friends who would argue the other way around, but I go, well, wait a minute, you know, somebody can walk through a beautiful cathedral somewhere and see Catholicism, and that's part of Catholicism. You can listen to music and art, and you can appreciate the intellectual history and the social doctrines of the church, and in that sense, Catholicism influences so many things, Catholic literature. But the Catholic Church, which is the ground of all of that, the source of all of that, is a very specific thing. And so there's a lot of people who are attracted to Catholicism as a system of ideas and thought and art and history and literature and perspective and all of that. And I hear from those people all the time that they're intrigued by Catholicism. Right. And we talk about Catholicism on this show. But at the end of the day, it isn't just about an ism. At the end of the day, you sort of follow that back to the source, and the source is actually the Catholic Church. It's the fountain from which all of that comes, if that makes sense. the spring, the wellspring of all of that. And that brings you to this point where you have to say, okay, I may be attracted to Catholicism, but am I willing to step through the portal and become part of the Catholic Church?
Well, I was never looking for just a better system. I don't care about it.
Yeah.
In fact, when Mrs. Protestant and I were in the car, she said, well, could you just sort of join it sort of nominally, or whatever? And I said, no, there would be no point. They ask a lot. I'm not doing this because it's cool. It's a cooler way to approach God. I see that as a very Protestant, that would be a very Protestant way to approach church. Well, I'm looking for a better system. Our system is better. This church is this denomination. Our system is better. I'm interested in following God, and I'm interested in being a Christian and following Christ. And so the system is what I get, to whatever extent there's a system. The system is what I get when I join the church. It's not that I don't care about that.
Yeah, I'd take it one step further.
I literally could not do this without you, because this show is 100% listener supported. There are no ads, no sponsors. So, if the episodes are helping you to understand the faith, to answer your questions, or draw you closer to historic Catholic Christianity, would you consider becoming a patron? For as little as $5 a month, you'll get every regular episode organized into topical playlists, plus exclusive bonus content, extra conversations, video Q&As, deep dives, live streams, behind the scenes, and more. Just head to patreon.com/considering Catholicism or tap the link in the show notes. Together, we're educating, equipping, and exciting people about the beauty of the Catholic faith.
I agree with what you're saying, and I'd actually double down on that, because when you talk about you do this and it's a one-way ticket, because you can't undo it, that goes to something really important about the Catholic Church, and that is the sacramental nature. So the sacraments alter us ontologically. That's a fancy philosophy word. Ontology is the branch of philosophy. Like you have ethics and you have this and metaphysics. Ontology is about being, what something is.
Okay.
So you'll hear somebody using fancy words. We'll talk about, the nature of what something actually is. Its ontological nature. And what the sacraments do, in Catholic theology, of course, is that the sacraments bring ontological change. It changes what something is. It's not just a surface effect.
Right.
So let me give you an example. Baptism. You can't get unbaptized. Even in the Protestant church, you can't be unbaptized. Right? But especially in Catholicism, as we understand, well, maybe, in some evangelical understandings where baptism is just, for some, an external symbol, right? Where you're just I've made a decision for Jesus and I'm making a public statement. Maybe that's different. But ontologically, once you've been baptized, you can't get unbaptized. It alters what you are.
And there's no point in getting rebaptized, as sometimes happens in Protestant
Correct.
churches.
You can't be rebaptized because you've actually made a fundamental ontological change in a thing. There was a time before that person was baptized, before that person was reborn in Christ and regenerated in Christ. And then there was a moment after that from which they are a regenerated Christian. Now, they can be a lapsed Christian. They can be baptized and never go to church, but they can never be unbaptized. And in the same way, that's one of the differences when we talk about the Catholic sacrament of matrimony. And, you've been very honest on this show about going through your annulment process, which was one of the reasons why you delayed this, because a Protestant understanding of marriage, which is a covenant, an agreement between two people that can be broken if there's sufficient grounds, infidelity, this, that. But the reason why we have annulments in the Catholic Church is that the Catholic Church sees matrimony, like the other sacraments, creating an ontological change within a person. So there was a time before you were married matrimonially,
right,
and that alters who you are, and it can never be undone. You can't unring the bell any more than you can get unbaptized. You can't get unmarried.
Right.
The annulment process is a determination as to whether or not you ever actually were experienced the sacrament of matrimony. But if you have experienced the sacrament of matrimony, it's permanent. It's a one-way ticket. There's no undoing it.
Right.
No unringing the bell. You can't put the toothpaste back in the tube. Right. The same way with other sacraments, like the other sacrament of vocation, is holy orders. So once someone is ordained as a priest, they can never not be a Catholic priest. They can be a fallen Catholic priest. They can be a Catholic priest that has been excommunicated. They can be a Catholic priest that has no faculty and no longer has permission to operate as a priest from the church, can no longer perform priestly functions. But the sacrament of holy orders fundamentally alters that person's soul. So they might be an ex-priest, but they're still, in a sense, in terms of what they do.
Right.
Okay, so where am I going with all this? You can see where I'm going with this. Once you go through the sacraments of initiation into the Catholic Church, baptism, confirmation, First Eucharist, you are a Catholic. You are a part of the Catholic Church.
Right.
You can be a lapsed Catholic.
Right.
You can be a Catholic that's hasn't gone to Mass in 20 years. You can be a Catholic who hasn't gone to Mass in 20 years and now goes to a Protestant church, or now goes to a Buddhist church, or now worships the great Oreo in the sky that can never go stale, whatever. But you are a Catholic. And just as a quick aside here, this is one of the reasons why the Catholic Church, will count Catholics, and people say, well, those people haven't been to Mass in 20 years, so why do you still count them as Catholics? Because they are Catholics.
Right.
They're just Catholics that haven't been to Mass in 20 years. Whereas if you go to your evangelical big box church, big box store, the members are only people who are active.
Right.
So you're doing it, and if you've been going and you've been giving, you're a member.
Right.
And if you stop, you're not a member anymore. But you are always going to be a member of the Catholic Church, and you're going to be Catholic, and you can't unring that bell. You can't undo the ontological change in you. So you're right. It's a heavy step because it does fundamentally change who you are. You become part of the Catholic Church.
Right. This is what I've been looking for all my life. I mean, I've talked a lot about this, and you can go back and listen to the old episodes, but especially the early ones, but that I'm talking about, my journey through this. But, I'm in my 60s, and I've been looking for this all my life. This feels to me like what I've been looking for. Like we talked several episodes earlier about the end of the Narnia last battle, the last Narnia book, and how, it was more real than, than the real world when the characters entered the next life. And that's what you asked me last couple of weeks ago when we first did this. What was it that kept drawing me, that drew me into it? And it's a couple of things, but one of them is that this just seems, this is a better way to put it than I did in that recording. This just seems more real and more connected to God, and far deeper and I'm never going to come to the end of this.
Yeah.
I think.
The perspective is interesting. Like on the one hand, you could look at it and go, man, this is too heavy. I recently had a conversation with somebody who was considering Catholicism about whether they wanted to pull the trigger and go ahead and join the church or go through the process. And they were like, well, there's certain things about Catholicism that I like, but it, just like you, but it feels super heavy to make this commitment, because what if I change my mind, and all of that. And I remember in the course of the conversation saying to this person, at some point you're going to give your life to something.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, this is the old Bob Dylan song about you got to serve somebody.
Right.
You're going to give your life to your career ambitions, trying to, make money and be successful in your career, or you're going to give your life to your addictions, or you're going to give your life to your hobbies, or you're going to give your life to something. And at the end of the day, what you have to ask is, am I giving my life to something that's worth giving my life to? Because you're going to spend your life. You have so many chips, and you're going to spend your chips. You don't have a choice. You will spend the chips of your life on something. And I said to this person, maybe you reflect on of all the things that you could give it to, what's worthy.
Right.
And I think for all the ways that we've talked on this show for the last 4 years, I think for me in my house, the Catholic Church, that is worth my life.
Yeah.
Now, does that mean individual Catholic leaders? Does that mean, Father so-and-so or Bishop somebody, or there can be scandals and there can be messes and you can get frustrated with it all day long. There's that famous Henri Bloch quote where he said, the proof that the Catholic Church is divine, that it was established by Christ and is divine in nature, is that it has lasted 2,000 years, because anything run with this level of, his words, knavish imbecility should not have lasted 2 weeks.
Right.
And to some degree, you will quickly look around and go, that's knavish imbecility. I can't believe we're doing that. Right. I can't believe that Bishop so-and-so did that, or Father so-and-so said that, or that we mismanaged this Catholic agency this way. But at the end of the day, when you look at, what is it, that line in C.S. Lewis's Screw Tape Letters where he's talking about how to deceive the human, and he says, make sure that the human never sees the church the way that the demons see it, as an army spread out in space and time with banners flapping in the wind.
Yeah.
You got to give your life to something, and something's going to claim it. And like you say about it being more real, I think for all of you out there who are listening or considering, I don't know what else in this world I've ever seen that is more worthwhile for me to commit my life to.
When you were talking about the person who's wondering whether they want to pull the trigger or not, you have to count the cost.
Yeah.
You have to, and that's one of the things that makes it feel worthy to me, is that there's a cost. It doesn't cost anything to join, like the church that we've been attending. They don't ask anything of you at all.
Well, right, in economics or whatever business, you also talk about the opportunity cost, which is the cost of not doing something.
Right.
And I think you're right. There's a cost to becoming Catholic. There's an opportunity cost to not becoming Catholic. And I remember, I've shared my story, of course, with you, and I've shared it on the show many times. But we had reached a point, my wife and I had, where we were right where you are. We were ready to pull the trigger. Let's go in OCIA. Let's do this. And then we put that off for a couple of years because there were various things in our life that were going on at the time where it was like one more year. Right. And I remember it was somebody had died or something. And I remember we were like, should we wait one more year? And I said to my wife, if something happens to me, I want to die in the Catholic Church. If I get T-boned by the cement truck this afternoon, I want to have died a Catholic, because the opportunity cost to have lived my life and finished it and missed the opportunity to be part of the one holy Catholic and Apostolic Church and to die in it, that opportunity cost is too high. So whatever it costs me to do it, I also have to weigh the cost of not doing it.
Yeah. So we're going to need to call me something different.
Yeah. So this is, the end of Ed the Protestant, the demise of Ed the Protestant, or will be. So we got to think about rebranding you.
Could I temporarily be Ed the candidate?
Yes, you can be Ed the candidate.
Okay. Am I right now, even though I have not started OCIA?
Yeah, well, I just, by the power vested in me as the OCIA director, I hereby, since I'm in fact, we're recording this in the OCIA classroom.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Because we were going to go out to the secret compound today but for the first time this season, but it is raining and raining and raining outside all last night and all through the day. So it's not a good day to be out there in the pouring rain. But so we did called an audible, and we came over here to the OCIA classroom. So this is your space. This is where, and so by the power vested in me as the OCIA program director, I dubbed the Ed the candidate. Okay. But yeah, so for all of you who are listening, yeah, that is the thing that more and more dioceses are changing over to, which is that there's two kinds of, just to explain it, there's two kinds of people, cat people, dog people, whatever. There's catechumens and candidates. And catechumens are those who have never been baptized, because baptism makes ontological change. Not just baptized in the Catholic Church, but baptized anywhere. The Catholic Church recognizes baptisms, valid baptisms from other denominations if it meets the requirements. It's baptized in a church that affirms the Trinity and baptized in a Trinitarian formula, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. So if you were baptized as a Lutheran or a Presbyterian or a Baptist, whatever, the Catholic Church will recognize that you are a baptized Christian. And so catechumens have never received baptism, and so therefore to come into full communion with the Church, they need to receive the three sacraments of initiation, which are baptism, confirmation, and their first Eucharist, first communion. But because you are a baptized Christian, you will receive the sacraments of confirmation in your first communion.
Right.
And you're called a candidate as opposed to a catechumen. So what a lot of parishes in the United States, and maybe in other countries, I don't know, have done for a very long time is lump candidates and catechumens together into one class and have everybody enter the church at the Easter Vigil. Now, that's the way that it was for me and for a lot of people. But a lot of our bishops have been moving away from that and saying, for a lot of reasons, and saying, no, the Easter Vigil is for catechumens who receive baptism, confirmation, and first communion, and that more and more now what we're doing is bringing in candidates in a sort of separate process at different times throughout the year. Right. So right now we're trying to settle on at our parish what that date of that's going to be, but it's going to be sometime in the fall. So we will be putting together a group of candidates to prepare for entering the church via the rite of reception in the fall at a Sunday Mass. But if you're out there listening and you have never been baptized, then you want to call your OCIA director or at your parish, contact your parish, and figure out how to get in the process as a catechumen at the next Easter Vigil. And then, but if you have been validly baptized, you need to talk to your OCIA director and plan the path at that parish for how they're going to do that, and you become a candidate. So we're going to work with a group of people. And sometime in the fall, Ed the candidate will then become Ed the Catholic.
Yeah.
So what we're going to, so there's a little bit of a bittersweet moment for this, but pretty exciting because, Ed the Protestant, the demise of Ed the Protestant, the transition, what do you call it? The like the transformation. What do you call, like a butterfly? What do they call it?
Oh, yeah.
When the larva or something becomes a butterfly. Yeah, metamorphosis.
There we go.
The metamorphosis of Ed the Protestant to Ed the candidate, which has been really interesting for the last 4 years for you, and I think pretty brave of you for allowing people to watch that process in public.
Thanks. And I'll probably say this again later on, but thanks for discipling me.
Oh,
it was I feel, I know a lot of people write in and they say, oh, I love the podcast and all that. And I feel kind of special. Don't call me special, Ed. Dealt with that my whole life. I'm the one who, I'm your friend, and I get to sit here and get this all coming right at me.
No, it's been great, and all the tacos have been good, and none of that's going to stop. So you're going to continue to be part of the show forever. But it's been fun for people to watch this, and I know how many people are out there cheering for you, because I get so many emails from people about, we love Ed, and we love Ed the Protestant, and but when is Ed the Protestant going to become Ed the Catholic? And you go, well, you are beholding. He's like a fat little worm in his cocoon, and transforming into the beautiful butterfly.
Well, if you're listening and you've been praying for me, thank you.
Yeah,
that means a lot. Wow. That's I just kind of have no idea who writes in, and so is it 6 people? Is it?
Well, they can still write to you. So you keep I would keep your email, because you'll always kind of. So why don't you share with everybody if you want to write Ed directly?
Ed the Protestant, all lowercase, all run together. Ed the Protestant at yahoo.com.
There you go.
Super simple. And I've already got a handful of people I correspond with.
Well, I'm sure you may get a couple more here when they find out. So this is pretty exciting, and you'll continue to be part of the show. But the next time you come on the show, you'll be Ed the Candidate. I'm
predicting it'll be interesting. I think we'll have some interesting talks when I start going through OCIA. I think that will be that'll be helpful for people who have not done it. Maybe
I think so. So fantastic, great stuff. All right. And you got to figure out what's going on with your headphones at home so that we can continue to do the remote thing. But hopefully the next time we get together and you're Ed the Candidate, we'll be doing it at the secret compound.
Yep.
Okay.
Perfect.
Hey, thank you. We'll be back with another episode very soon. And this show is 100% listener supported. My patrons keep the lights on, and they let me spend more time researching and recording so that these episodes keep coming. If this show has helped you, would you consider becoming a patron? For as little as $5 a month, you'll get every regular episode organized into topical playlists, plus exclusive bonus content, extra video Q&As, deep dive courses, live streams, and more. Just head to patreon.com/considering Catholicism or tap the link in the show notes. And would you please rate the podcast on whatever platform you're using and write a review on Apple Podcasts or on consideringcatholicism.com. And you can drop me a line. Patrons can comment directly on Patreon posts or Spotify. I read every one. Or you can always use the contact form at consideringcatholicism.com, or you can email me at consideringcatholicism@gmail.com. I love hearing your questions, your comments, and your stories.